For the past few weeks, I've been posting content about getting my colors analyzed and my body type analyzed while I was traveling in Korea. And I definitely got some great insights from these sessions. So my next logical step now that I'm back home is to go through a closet declutter. So I went through my wardrobe and I picked out all the clothes that I don't reach for all that often. And I've decided to group them into buckets based on my recent learnings throughout these analysis sessions. So today I'm going to walk you through the decision process and share more of my learnings with you. So for those of you that have been following the series, you know that I've been assessed as a deep bottom twice by 2 different analysts, and that was under different systems. And for my body type, I've been assessed as a natural based on the Japanese skeletal diagnosis system. If you haven't been following the series, well, I just told you what my results are, but if you want more details of the consultations themselves, I'll link the full playlist up here for you to watch next. So based on these results, for this round of my closet declutter, I wanted to take a bit of a different approach. So usually how I would go about a closet declutter is I just take out the items that I don't reach for often and try to decide if I should keep or toss them. But this time around, I wanted to focus a little bit more on the why. Why don't I reach for these items often? And I wanted to make the connection to my recent learnings from my color and body type analysis. So I used 3 main criteria for this: color, fit, and fabric. So if an item doesn't meet 2 out of these 3 criteria, so for instance, if the color is right, but both the fit and the fabric are off, then those items landed in my definite toss pile. And if the item didn't meet only 1 of these 3 criteria, so for example, if the fabric is off, but the fit and the color are both good, then those ended up in my maybe pile. So I'll show you what landed in my definite tosses pile first. And most of the items that ended up here turned out to have the right color, but the wrong fit and the wrong fabric. For example, 3 of my sheer long sleeves ended up in this pile. I've got a darker, warmer olive green long sleeve. I also have a lighter khaki green long sleeve. And I also have this black sheer mock neck top. I think the reason why I decided to buy these in the first place is because I really like the simplicity of a form-fitting top with a nice pair of jeans, and the sheer fabric just adds a little bit of that edgy twist. And they were definitely good choices color-wise, but I think the reason why I don't reach for them enough is because the fabric is just too thin for my natural body type. In my previous video, I shared with you what the consultant told me about natural body types, and it's that because we're frame dominant and we have bigger bones, our skin just tends to sort of drape over the large frame, and that creates some humps and ridges in the silhouette of our bodies. And I don't know if those are the right word choices, but that's just the best way I can translate it from Korean to English. So thin fabrics tend to cling to the skin, which ends up accentuating the lack of smoothness in our silhouettes, and I think that helps explain why I don't really reach for these items. I have more reasons for each of these items in terms of fit. With the darker green top, the shoulder line is just way too narrow for my shoulders, and I bought this online without trying it on, so that's kind of my fault. And then with the lighter green top, the length sits a little bit too cropped than I would like. And I tried to make it work with high-rise pants, but the length is still a bit awkward where I can't really tuck in the shirt. And then with the black top, the mock neck really closes up my neckline area, and that makes my shoulders look broader. I actually brought up this black top in my 2025 Style Intentions video as an item that I'm looking to replace, and I did exactly that recently with this off-shoulder asymmetrical long sleeve. The new item's still not the best in terms of fabric, but I think the color works really well, especially the brown trim, and the asymmetrical neckline also works well for me, and the length is a little bit longer. So I figured if I'm gonna break the rule anyways and keep the thin fabric, then 1 is probably enough. So that's why I'm deciding to get rid of the rest. Another item in the right color but wrong fit and fabric is this thick turtleneck sleeveless top. And I really wanted to make this item work so badly because it really is a unique, one-of-a-kind piece, but it has been sitting in my closet for years without getting much wear, and I even tried to use it in my New Year's outfits video as an occasional piece, but the length never really sat right because it's a little too cropped. The fabric is too thick this time, so it makes my upper body look heavier unnecessarily, and it's impractical because the thickness of the fabric has nothing to do with the warmth. So I think it's finally time to let it go. There were also a few items that had the right fabric in terms of thickness, but they were the wrong color and fit. For example, this dusty navy halter top, it's got that grayish navy that apparently doesn't work for my season, which I've talked about in a previous video. I do have other tops in this similar color that I really like. It's just that this one happens to be a little dustier than the other ones in terms of color. And also the neckline is too tight, the length is awkward, again, it's a bit too cropped. So despite the fabric being quite nice and thick enough, I actually didn't reach for it once last spring or summer. So I think I'm pretty okay with letting this one go. I've also got this gray cropped hoodie that landed in this pile, and if you can detect a pattern here, I don't seem to be reaching for anything that's too cropped. With the color, I've already talked about in the past about medium valued colors not really working that well for me, and gray is also slightly too cool. I do have some grays in my closet, but I already have a similar zip-up hoodie, so I figured I probably don't need two. What I found surprising is that nothing landed in this pile that had the right fit, but they were the wrong color and fabric. So I think that could be an indicator that fit is probably the most important for me when I'm trying to decide what to wear. But there was one item that didn't fit any of the three criteria, and it's this warm pink t-shirt. Again, it's a little too cropped and the fabric is too thin, and the color is also too light and bright. So in the first video, when I was told that Vivid Spring is my second best season, some of you really wanted me to make a styling video using some brighter colors, but this item and one other item that actually landed in my maybe pile, and I'll show you guys in a bit, those were the only two bright enough colors that I can find in my closet. So obviously we can't take subjectivity out 100% when we're talking about this, but in my opinion, brighter colors just don't really work that well with my skin tone or my overall coloring, nor does it fit my personality or style preferences. So it's not that I haven't tried these colors before, it's just that none of them really stuck around for long, and that's why I only have two left in my closet now. And then we've got the maybe pile. So these were the items that met 2 out of the 3 criteria in terms of color, fit, and fabric. And one of the items that landed in this pile was this cropped blazer. So I've actually used this item in my styling items I never wear video, and I talked about how I couldn't really figure out why I never reach for this. And again, we're seeing a pattern here that I tend to avoid anything that's too cropped, and I think that fits in nicely with the recommendations for my natural body type. To be clear though, I'm not getting rid of everything that's cropped. I noticed that it's only when the length is too short or when the item is cropped and fitted at the same time. So I am keeping some longer crop tops with a looser fit. I've also got these leather pants that landed in my maybe pile, and it's genuine leather and the color is nice, but the fit is a little too tight and too short for me. So this is another piece that I've just been holding on to for a long period of time in the hopes of making it work somehow, but I think it's finally time to let them go. I also think this has something to do with trends, because we've definitely been seeing looser pants with longer lengths, and that just happens to fit my body type better. So would I actually go back to skinny jeans if they ever came back? I don't think so for now, but I don't know, I might change my mind, right? Can't say for sure. And then we've also got this red tank top that landed in my maybe pile, and this was that other color I was talking about that's bright enough for a vivid spring. And I'm kind of torn with this piece because the fabric's pretty nice, it's got a built-in bra, the fit is fine, but the color is just a tad too bright. Like, I wish it was just a little bit darker, because I feel like the color just jumps out before me every time I wear it. I remember one of the comments saying that the difficult thing about vivid colors is that we just tend to shy away from them in general because they just stick out, and neutral colors have been in trend for so long. And I kind of agree with that, especially how neutral and soft colors are always tied to this idea of timelessness, so they're considered more practical. But I also think that when a person in a clear winter or clear spring season wears these bright colors, the colors never jump out more than the person. It's almost like you don't notice how bright these colors actually are. It's not until you see someone in a soft season who's wearing a bright color that you notice how bright the color actually is. And I feel like that's the case for me. Like, I never really see see this brightness as being harmonious with me, and that's probably why none of these bright colors really stuck around in my closet for long. Again, we can't leave subjectivity out of these conversations, and the more I talk about it, the more I realize that subjective opinions actually play a much bigger role in color analysis than what I had initially thought. So that was a pretty fun exercise. I usually go through pretty regular closet declutters, but this one was definitely more in depth in terms of trying to understand the whys and making that connection to my recent learnings. And if I were to prioritize areas that I can be better at, I would say fit probably comes first, because most of the items that landed in both of these piles had some sort of a fit issue. So I learned that I avoid cropped fits. So anything that's either too short or fitted and cropped at the same time. I also avoid anything that's too tight or form-fitting. And I should probably pay more attention to the necklines. Fabric probably comes next in terms of priorities, and this likely has more to do with the cost of the garments, and I should really try to get rid of my bad habits of buying cheap stuff. I decided that color comes in last in terms of my priority list, just because there were only 2 items, so I should work on just fine-tuning my color palette, but also on expanding my comfort zone when it comes to brighter colors. Let me know in the comments what you think about whether I should keep or toss my maybe items. So that was the crop blazer, the leather pants, and the red tank top. I hope this video inspired you to dig a little deeper when it comes time for your next closet declutter. I'll see you in my next video, and until then, stay unique and stay gorgeous.